Hello students, now we should continue our discussion on thermodynamics and look at other terminologies. So concept of energy, work and heat. Energy is a common term embracing energy in transition and stored energy. So energy can be there in the transition or as a stored energy. The stored energy is in the form of internal energy or mechanical energy. Like when you press a spring, so the spring gets compressed. So that is a stored energy in the form of mechanical form. A portion of the stored energy can be in the form of kinetic energy or potential energy. So if you pump water from a lower level to higher level, then it becomes the potential energy of the overhead water tank where the water is stored. The remaining balanced part of the energy is known as internal energy. Work and heat are the forms of energy in transition and cannot exist as stored energy. Both this heat as well as work, which are forms of energy, they are in transition and cannot be stored. These are only two forms of energy which can cross the system boundary. Means system and surrounding interactions will happen only in the form of heat interaction or work interactions. What is work here in thermodynamics? Work is said to be done when a force moves through a distance. Suppose I move from one place to another place, or I shift a book from one place to another place because of force. Then we say work is done. Work is usually defined as a force acting through a displacement x. The displacement being in the direction of the force. Mathematically, work W is equal to integration from 1 to 2 force into dx. Here that displacement is shown in the form of x. In thermodynamics, work is said to be done by a system if the sole effect on the surroundings should be rising of the weight. Here rising of weight is equivalent to the force acting through a distance. Work is defined as the energy transferred without transfer of mass across the boundary of system, because the intensive property difference other than temperature that exists between the system and the surroundings. So here there is no mass transfer. Okay. And work in thermodynamics is defined if the sole effect, the only effect is to raise the weight. Work cannot be stored in a system, and work is a transient quantity which only appears at the boundary while there is a change. So the unit of work done is Newton's meter. Newton is the unit of force, meter is the force unit of displacement. So it is Newton meter, or Newton meter is called as joule. 1 Newton meter is 1 joule. There is some sign convention also. There is some sign convention for interaction between a system and surrounding. Okay. So we will see, suppose now we take a IC engine, your motorcycle engine, that is a system. Surroundings is your air, atmospheric air, this is all surrounding. Okay, here just take that piston and cylinder arrangement where power is being produced. Okay, that power is sent to the rear wheels for movement of the bike. Okay, so your system, piston and cylinder arrangement, let them constitute a system. Now what is the sign convention? How you indicate whether it is positive or negative work, positive or negative heat transfer? What we do is, now in our motorcycle, just take the example of motorcycle, we supply heat, like we burn the fuel, petrol, and it does work. Means the engine starts and I am able to move from one place to another place on the motorcycle. Done. So the work is done. Now this is my need from a heat engine. So what I am doing, I am supplying heat to the system. So Q represents heat. So I am supplying heat to the system like piston and cylinder element. So that is considered positive. Okay. And the heat rejected, like heat rejected in the form of dissipation of engine heat or exhaust gas, this all is heat is dissipated to the surroundings. This is as considered as negative. Very important, should understand. So heat supplied to the system is positive and heat rejected by the system is negative. Similarly, work done. Now what I want that the engine should burn the fuel and do the work. Okay? So work done by the system is positive. Work done by the system is positive and work done on the system is negative. If I am doing some work on the system, then it becomes negative. Okay, for example, I am starting the engine, so I am kicking the pedal, so piston and piston is moving in the cylinder. This is negative, but work done by the system is positive. So this is a sign convention. Very important. Please understand this. Heat may be defined as energy in transit. Again, this is also cannot be stored. It is in transit from high temperature to the low temperature object. Like you keep a cup of coffee, hot coffee you keep. What happens? Initially the cup is hot, the coffee is hot. But what happens over a period of time, because the surrounding is at lower temperature, then heat starts transferring from, there is a heat transfer from the hot coffee to the cold environment. So this heat is a energy in transit from high temperature to low temperature. It is also defined as something which appears at the boundary when the system changes its state due to a difference in temperature between the system and surroundings. Okay, as I have told, heat flow from the system is negative and heat flow into the system is positive. And the unit of heat is also joule. Like Newton meter we have seen, work unit is Newton into meter. So 1 Newton meter is 1 joule. So now we will see the comparison between heat and work. Heat and work both are path functions and in exact differentials. Okay, both are associated with a process and not with a state. As we have seen earlier, both are path functions and not point functions. And hence it depends on the path they travel. They are associated with the process and not with the end states. Both are recognized at the boundaries of the system as that cross the boundary, like it's a boundary phenomena. I gave a coffee cup kept in the atmosphere. So heat is getting transferred from the cup surface to the atmosphere. So it's they are boundary phenomena. And system, they possess only energy, not work or heat. Okay, and dissimilarity is in heat transfer the temperature difference is required. So if the heat will get transferred only if there is a temperature difference. If both temperatures are similar, then there is no heat transfer. Then similarly, stable systems do not transfer work. Like for example, you are sitting on a seesaw. Both parties on the either side are of same weight. So there is no work, there is no movement. But if there is it is a stable system, so the work transfer is not there. But if one fellow is lean, another fellow is heavy, then the seesaw will move. Then there is a work transfer. And the sole effect of the effect external to the system could be reduced to the rise of weight in case of work. But in case of heat transfer, other effects are also observed. So both heat and work are the forms of energy, and both the energy, they are in transition. And one more thing is, see, heat is a low grade energy and work is a high grade energy. See, for example, we produce electricity from burning coal. Okay, by burning coal we produce electricity. So the efficiency is only 30%, 35%. But when the electricity is produced and I use it in a heater, water heater or so, then what happens, I can convert this electricity or work into heat. That conversion can be 98-99%. So that is why we say heat is a low grade energy, because the efficiency is very low in thermal engines and all, but work is a high grade energy. And that is why entire heat cannot be converted into work, but entire work can be converted into heat. Now we shall look at zeroth law of thermodynamics. Basically very simple law it is. Now you can see here there are three bodies, A, B and C. Okay. Now what is A, what is B and what is C? Let us see. Suppose A is you, one person like you, okay, A. B is the thermometer, what you are using to see your temperature, no? Thermometer. Now what is C? C is the ice point or steam point, whatever you consider. Let us say ice point. Okay. So how these thermometers are made? As I said, B is a thermometer, C is a ice point. So thermometers, when they are calibrating, they are seeing that the thermometer at B reads 0 degrees centigrade. Okay. So accordingly they are calibrated. Now you are A, so you want to measure the temperature of yourself. So what you are doing, you are going to use thermometer B. So what you are going to do, you are going to insert the thermometer in your mouth and hold it there for some time. When you hold the thermometer in your mouth for some time, the thermometer temperature which was showing low earlier, say 90 degree Fahrenheit, now it will slightly raised, and over a period of time, suppose your temperature is 98 degree Fahrenheit. So the thermometer will rise and it will also come and show 98 degree Fahrenheit. Okay. So this is called as thermal equilibrium, when both the things are showing both the bodies are showing the same temperature. And this B thermometer, how you are calibrating that thermometer? By using C, one more body, which can be at ice point or it can be at steam point. So ice point will show it as 0 degree centigrade, steam point I will show it as 100 degree centigrade, and I will mark 100 graduations between 0 and 100, and each one will show 1 degree centigrade. Okay. Now you can see the definition. The zeroth law is important as it allows us to define the concept of temperature. Please understand, these laws were defined 300 years back, and that time nothing was defined. So zeroth law defines the temperature. The zeroth law of thermodynamics states that if two thermodynamic systems that are in thermal equilibrium with a third body, then they are in thermal equilibrium with each other. Okay. Like if I said A, B and C. Suppose if A is in thermal equilibrium with B, C, and A is also in thermal equilibrium with B, then B and C are in thermal equilibrium. Okay. Got the point? So like I said, if A means I am in a thermal equilibrium with the ice point and okay, then where I am also in thermal equilibrium with the thermometer, because we are holding the thermometer in mouth for quite some time, so that we will become in thermal equilibrium. Then the thermometer and the ice point, they are also in equilibrium. So actually this is how the concept of temperature came. This is how the concept of temperature, and this law actually came later. First they defined first law, then they came out with second law, and then they found this. But they found that this is very fundamental. You have to define the temperature. Na? That is why after first, second, they named it as zeroth law. So This gives the concept of temperature. Now what is temperature? The thermal state of a body considered with reference to its ability to transfer heat to other bodies. The body losing heat is defined as having a higher temperature, and the body receiving it is having lower temperature. So it distinguishes between a hot and cold body. It is proportional to the stored molecular energy. And the instruments which are used to measure temperature are known as thermometers. And for higher temperatures like 500, 1000, 1500 used in industry, we use pyrometers. Okay. So during research they found that gas will not occupy any volume at a certain temperature. So this temperature is known as absolute zero temperature. And the temperatures we measure with absolute zero as basis are called as absolute temperature. So absolute temperature is equal to thermometer reading in degree centigrade plus 273. Like absolute temperature scale is called as Kelvin scale. It is SI unit for temperature. And when I say Kelvin means degree centigrade plus 273.15. That is a Kelvin. Now internal energy. What is internal energy? Internal energy of the system is the energy contained within the system, excluding the kinetic energy of the motion of the system as a whole and the potential energy of the system as a whole due to external forces. Unit is U, and it is denoted by U, and the SI unit is joules. Okay. The internal energy can be changed by the transfer of matter or heat, or by doing work. So if matter moves from the system to surroundings, or other way, or the heat interaction is there between system and surroundings, or by work interaction, there can be change in internal energy. When the matter transfer between the system and the boundary is not allowed, then the system we call it as closed system. Okay. If there is a mass transfer, matter transfer, then only we call it as a open system. If the mass transfer is not allowed between system and surroundings, we call it as a closed system. The first law of thermodynamics states that the increase in internal energy is equal to the total heat added plus the work done on the system by its surroundings. So this first law, because of the first law of thermodynamics only, you got the concept of internal energy, which depends on the total heat added plus the work done on the system. So when I said, when the system you are supplying heat, okay, that is positive, and the work done by the system is positive. So here we are talking about heat added to the system and the work done by the system. So if there is no heat transfer and work transfer and mass transfer, then we call that system as isolated system, and there is no change in the internal energy, as in the case of thermos flask. So change in internal energy we call it a delta U. So law of conservation of energy is a physical law which states energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but can only change form from one form to another form. That is, the total energy of an isolated system remains constant and is conserved within a given frame of reference. Like thermos flask, if we keep it for almost 24 hours, it will be hot only. Because there is no mass transfer, there is no work transfer, as well as there is no heat transfer. Now coming to first law of thermodynamics. The first law of thermodynamics is stated as when a system undergoes a thermodynamic cycle, then the net heat supplied, dQ, to the system from the surroundings is equal to the net work done, that is dW, by the system on the surroundings. The cyclic integral of heat is equal to cyclic integral of work. Okay, I can again give the example of your motorcycle only. Here you are burning the fuel and it is okay, that is heat supplied to the system. And what is the work done? The movement of the passenger along with the vehicle from one place to another place. Okay, in the cyclic integral of heat means you are supplying the heat to the engine, okay, some quantity. In that this is positive, heat supplied to the system is positive, but this heat is also rejected to the atmosphere through engine and also through the exhaust. So these are all heat interactions between the system and surroundings. What is the work? Work is movement of person and the motorcycle from one place to another place. So this is a work interaction. So the cyclic integral of all the heat heat interactions is equal to the cyclic integral of all the work interactions. Same is the case of suppose you take a Rankine cycle power plant, your coal power plant, your Kaiga power plant, you know. We supply heat to form steam in the boiler or heat exchanger, and the heat is added in the boiler, and then heat is expanded in the turbine, and heat is rejected by the condenser, and there we pump the condensate liquid to the boiler. So here you can see heat is added in the boiler and heat is rejected in the condenser. Similarly, work is done by the turbine, and small work input is given to the pump to pump. So here both two heat interactions, two work interactions. So the cyclic integral is same. Like you can say Q is equal to Q1 to 2 plus Q2 to 3 plus Q3 to 4, and similarly cyclic integral of work is W1 to 2, W2 to 3 plus W3 to 4, where the initial and final state are identical. Then only it becomes a cycle. Cycle means whatever initial state is there, it comes back to the final state. Mathematically, the first law of thermodynamics cannot be proved, but confirmed its validity by repeated experiments. So it can be stated that heat and work are mutually convertible. Okay. So they only change forms. Like you rub your hands against each other, what happens? You are doing some work, but heat is produced, right? So heat and work are mutually convertible. Very simple. And this actually was a very famous experiment conducted by Joule actually. This is again, please understand, these are all old experiments. You know? So to say that heat and work are mutually convertible, I just told you that you rub your hands, you will get the friction and heat is produced. Okay, but the first experiment was done by Joule. You can see the experiment here. Very simple experiment. He took an insulated container, put water in that, put a cover. That also cover was insulated. So, and he has put a thermometer to measure the temperature. Sensitive thermometer it is to measure the temperature. He put a pulley, and he attached a stirrer to that, and he put a weight here. You can see. So what he has done now, initially the weight is there. What is shown in the black object. Then he has dropped the weight. He has taken the temperature of the liquid using the thermometer. Then he has dropped the weight from the top to the bottom. You can see the dotted line. So what happens when the weight falls down from this position to the bottom position? Then the rope is connected and it moves the pulley, and the pulley rotates the stirrer. And because of the stirring action, like this is a work transfer. Weight is moved from one place to another place. This is a work transfer. Force into displacement, this is work transfer. But what has happened in the system? In the system, the stirrer has moved, and because the stirrer has rotated, it has produced as friction and it has produced heat. And this temperature difference has been observed by the thermometer. So he concluded that heat and work are mutually they can be converted. So this was the famous Joule experiment. So now let us come to the application of first law of thermodynamics to a process. When a system undergoes a process, then the change in stored energy is equal to the net heat interactions minus the net work interactions during the process. So Q we can call that heat, W is the work, and E is the internal energy, or U we have seen, or E also you can show. See, you'll understand very simple thing. I will give you 100 joules of heat. Okay, you are a system. I give you 100 joules of heat or 100 rupees. Okay, then you do 80 rupees work. You will do the 80 rupees work. Okay, so how much rupees you are having? Now you are having 20 rupees. Initially you had 0 rupees. Okay, initially you had 0 rupees. You are nothing with you. I gave you 100 rupees or 100 joules of heat. Then what you have done? You have done some work for 80 joules or 80 rupees. So what is the balance you are having? So that is what is given here. E2 minus E1. Earlier nothing was there. Now I have given you 100. Okay, so Q is 100. W is 20. Sorry, 80. Yeah, he supplied is 100. Work done is 80. So 100 minus 80 is 20. That is equal to E2 minus E1. E1 is 0. Internal energy initially was 0 with you. But now because of this, what is the energy you are having or money you are having is 20 rupees. So this is what is given in this equation. E2 minus E1 is equal to Q minus W. Delta E is equal to Q minus W. Our integration from 1 to 2 d Q minus W is equal to delta E, that is E2 minus E1. And this E, that is internal energy, is a sum of U plus kinetic energy plus potential energy. So if kinetic energy and potential energy, chemical energy are absent, like electrical energy, magnetic energy, chemical energy are absent, then and the potential and kinetic energy are in a closed system are neglected, then you can write E is equal to U. So what are the limitations of first law of thermodynamics? It has got some limitations. So it sets no limit to the amount of total energy of the system which can be caused to flow out as work. So it doesn't put any limitations ki kitna, how much will get converted, heat will get converted to work or work will get converted to heat. Then the processes proceed in a certain direction and not in the reverse direction, like heat flow will happen only from high temperature to low temperature and not the other way around. But this first law does not talk about the feasibility of the reverse thing. That we will see in the second law. Okay, and this first law is silent about the percentage of conversion of energy from one form to another form. Work can be converted into equivalent amount of heat, but heat cannot be converted into equivalent amount of work. Like in the experiment what you have seen, the Joule experiment for heat and work interaction, if I drop the weight, then definitely work is done and there is heat interaction is there. But if I just heat this other way around, if I heat this liquid in the container, will the weight move? No. So this is not told by the first law. These are the limitations of the first law, and this we will see in the second law. Now we shall look at another entity called as enthalpy. Enthalpy is a measure of energy of a system. So the system is there. What is the energy in the system we will measure by enthalpy. Okay. It is a thermodynamic quantity equivalent to the total heat content of the system. So if there is a system and it has some heat, what it can do? Either the heat will remain inside the system or the heat will do some work. Okay. And what is that work? P into V, pressure into volume, that is the work. So enthalpy is defined to be the sum of internal energy that is stored in the system, and the product of P into V, pressure into volume. So this is a extensive quantity. Okay, means it is not independent, it is dependent on the mass of the system. So it depends on the size of the system or the amount of substance it contains. Enthalpy is energy like property or state function which has the dimensions of energy. So it has also got the same units of energy, that is joule. So enthalpy is the energy contained within the system, excluding the kinetic energy of the motion of the system as a whole and the potential energy of the system as a whole due to external force fields. So if there is a system, a very simple term I will tell you, if there is a system, it has got some heat content. Okay, so that heat content of the system we will call it as enthalpy. And there are two things what will happen. One is the energy is stored, or the energy can be used for doing work. So whatever stored is there, we will call it a U, internal energy, and whatever work it can do is called PV. So enthalpy is sum of H is equal to U plus PV. Now we look at second law of thermodynamics, because whatever limitations we saw in first law, we saw that it doesn't tell how much percentage of heat can be converted to work and other way around. It also doesn't say that from heat cannot flow from lower temperature to higher temperatures. This is not told by the first law. So those we will see in the second law. In the beautiful first law of thermodynamics, we came to a terminology called as internal energy U. Similarly, here in the second law of thermodynamics, we will define a term called as entropy. Okay. The second law of thermodynamics states that the total entropy of an isolated system can never decrease over time. So the entropy of an isolated system will never decrease, it will only increase. So now for this second law of thermodynamics, there are two important statements. One is the Kelvin-Planck statement and another is the Clausius statement. Very simple statements are there. I will not read this, but just I will show you. Kelvin-Planck statement. Now you take this, suppose your bike engine. Okay, device what you have put cross, no? This is your bike engine. Okay, what bike engine is doing? Bike engine is producing work, means it is transporting, moving you from one place to another place. Okay, it is doing work. And how that bike engine is working? When you are supplying, you are burning the fuel in the engine, right? Now Kelvin-Planck, but what happens? Now you see here in the diagram, heat is supplied from the hot reservoir to the device, that is your engine, and engine is doing work. But so the device is your system. Now whether there is a between the device and device is a system, and surroundings is your you have got surroundings where the work is done, but there is no heat interaction between the device and the atmosphere. Only hot reservoir heat is coming, but any heat rejection is shown? No. So Kelvin-Planck said this cannot happen, that the device is working continuously in a cycle, it is producing work, but only interacting with one reservoir, like hot reservoir. It cannot happen. What happens in a real life? The top hot reservoir is there, it is supplying heat to the device, your bike engine is doing work, but also it is giving exhaust. It is dumping heat energy into the atmosphere. This is not shown here. That is why he said this is not possible. So if you read the English statement, it is impossible for any device that produces on a cycle to receive heat from one single reservoir and produce net amount of work. So it cannot have one reservoir, you should have two reservoirs, because we have to dump also the engine. In other words, it is impossible to construct a device which operates in a cycle and produces no other effect than the production of work and the transfer of heat from a single body. Please understand, here single body, single reservoir is important. It cannot happen. That is why he has shown it here. So if the device cannot produce work just by interacting with a single reservoir. This was the Kelvin-Planck statement for heat engines on second law of thermodynamics. Now there is a Clausius statement. Now you have got fridge at your house. Everybody is having fridge. You have seen fridge. Okay. What is happening in the fridge? You can see that device is your fridge here now. So in the fridge, what happens? A refrigerator, the whatever heat is there inside the refrigerator is dumped outside to the atmosphere, right? It is dumped outside to the atmosphere, correct? That is why the inside is cooled, outside is hot. But here in no work interaction is shown here. The device is taking heat from the cold reservoir and dumping heat to the hot reservoir. Is it possible without your motor and compressor in the refrigerator? No. That is why this is the Clausius treatment. He says this device is not possible, which only has heat interaction and it transfers heat from the cold body to the hot body without any work interaction. So this is the Clausius statement. I will read out. No device can operate on a cycle and produce effect that is solely the heat transfer from a lower temperature body to a higher temperature body. That is, heat itself cannot flow from a colder to the hotter body. Also another the way of writing it, it is impossible to construct a device which while operating in a cyclic process transfers heat from low temperature body to a high temperature body without the aid of external agency. So these are the two statements of second law of thermodynamics. One is Kelvin-Planck statement for heat engine and second is Clausius statement for like refrigerators. Okay. Now we will see the definition of entropy. Like the system has got pressure, it has got temperature. You can measure pressure directly. Your tire pressure you are measuring, your body temperature you are measuring. You can measure directly, but you cannot measure internal energy or entropy. You have to calculate them. Entropy is a property of a system such as pressure, temperature, internal energy, etc. It is an extensive property, means it depends on the mass of the system and it cannot be measured directly but can be calculated through the process. Entropy is a property which is associated with the second law of thermodynamics. It is a measure of the unavailable energy in a closed thermodynamic system that is usually considered to be a measure of system's disorder, that is the property of the system state and that varies directly with the reversible change in heat in the system and inversely with the temperature of the system. See, we can give example, very simple example. It is a measure of system's disorder. Like when we take class in the face-to-face classroom, you all students will be sitting and you will be silently listening to the teacher. So you have got the class is in order. You are using your energy to listen to the teacher and understand whatever is taught. But that moment the teacher leaves the class and goes, what happens? Then you start talking among yourself. You will talk all unwanted things. Okay, you are wasting your energy and the system is in disorder. The same thing happens in real life also. That is why this disorderliness is known as entropy. It is a measure of unavailable energy. So this energy is not available in a closed thermodynamic system, which is usually considered to be a measure of system's disorder. Okay. It varies directly with the reversible change in heat. So it is depending on heat interaction as well as and inversely with the temperature. So it varies directly with the changes in heat and inversely with the temperature. It is the degree of disorder or uncertainty of a system. So you can say here written S. S denotes entropy. H is the enthalpy, heat, okay, and heat energy of the system, and T is the absolute temperature. See, when I say absolute temperature, it should be in Kelvin. Please, in thermodynamics, understand absolute temperature means always in Kelvin. If I write T means it will always be in Kelvin only. So entropy is also defined as a measure of system's thermal energy per unit temperature that is unavailable for doing work. Okay. So the system has the energy, but it cannot be converted into work, useful work. Because work is obtained from ordered molecular motion, the amount of entropy is also measure of molecular disorder or randomness of a system. The concept of entropy provides deep insight into the direction of spontaneous changes for many everyday phenomena. Okay, the change in the entropy is caused by a change in the heat content, whereas change in entropy is equal to the heat change divided by the average absolute temperature. So, as we have seen, now let us see the change. ds is the change in the entropy is equal to dH divided by T, where dH is the change in enthalpy. And the units of entropy is kilojoules per kg Kelvin. As I said, entropy is an extensive property, so it depends upon mass. So kilojoule is energy, okay, per kg, that is mass, and Kelvin is temperature, absolute temperature. And the third law of thermodynamics states that the entropy of any pure substance in a thermodynamic equilibrium approaches zero as the temperature approaches zero. So the lowest temperature what we can reach is 0 Kelvin, okay, and when the system reaches 0 degree centigrade, then the entropy also reaches 0, or else the reverse is also true. Okay. That is, the entropy approaches 0 as the temperature approaches 0, or the other way around is also true, that temperature approaches 0 when the entropy approaches 0 Kelvin. So mathematically you can say limit from T to 0 Kelvin, entropy T is equal to entropy at absolute temperature is equal to 0. The rest is the entropy and T is the absolute temperature. So please understand, absolute 0 means there is no thermal energy or heat. Absolutely there is no heat energy in that. Okay. So absolute 0 temperature is a reference point for determining entropy. Absolute entropy of a substance can be calculated from measured thermodynamic properties by integrating differential equations of the state from absolute 0. For a gas, this requires integrating through the solid, liquid and gaseous phases. For example, if you take ice, when we heat it becomes water, then it becomes steam. So when you are studying steam, then you will understand this in a better way. Okay, this was about thermodynamics, second part. Now next we will discuss about steam formation in our next class. Thank you.